Chi Cheng never expected love to feel like this. He had seen tears before countless times. From strangers, lovers, and enemies. He'd caused most of them himself. But nothing compared to this. Wu Suowei's tears were different. They weren't just sadness. They were a storm. And tonight, Chi Cheng was caught in the middle of it. Wu was sobbing, shaking, barely able to breathe. The pain in his chest had built up over days, maybe longer. And now it was all pouring out. Chi walked toward him silently, expression unreadable. Then, without warning, he grabbed a handful of Wu Suowei's hair and yanked his head back, forcing his face upward. "Don't cry," Chi said, voice sharp. "Do you hear me?" But Wu couldn't hear anything. His ears were ringing, his heart was pounding, and his tears wouldn't stop. Kai's control snapped. He smacked Wu firmly on the butt, an old reflex, one he hadn't used in what felt like forever. "I told you to stop crying," he growled, louder now. Desperate, raw, but it had the opposite effect. Wu Suowei's cries deepened, from soft sobs to full-on howls. Every sound from his mouth tore into Chi Cheng like shards of glass. He could no longer hide behind cruelty. No longer pretend he wasn't affected. His hand loosened from Wu's hair. He pulled Wu close, into his arms, wiping away tears with shaking fingers. His voice broke. Wei, stop crying now." But Wu didn't stop. He couldn't. The tears weren't just pain, they were release. The kind of breakdown that only happens when you finally feel safe enough to collapse. Chi held him tighter. His eyes burned too. He could feel the heat at the back of his throat, the sting in his chest. "Baby, let's not cry anymore, okay?" Wu Suowei gasped for breath, choking on sobs. His body shook like he was falling apart piece by piece. And all Chi could do was hold him. Wei. "I'm here. Listen to me. Don't cry anymore." Everything else, past mistakes, harsh words, even the betrayal, they faded. Chi whispered again, softer than ever. "I'm here, baby." Later that night, when the room was quiet and Wu was finally asleep, Gang Zhe arrived. He didn't need to ask what had happened. He saw it in Kai's eyes. They sat in silence for a while. Then Gang nodded at Kai's belt, watching him unbuckle and rebuckle it like a nervous habit. He smirked. "Your hands are itching again." Chi didn't reply. Gang raised an eyebrow. "He can't satisfy you?" Chi looked out the window, voice low and rough. "He can." "But it's just the needs of my hands." Gang understood instantly. He always did. Chi wasn't talking about desire. He was talking about the old urge, the one that used to define him. The need to dominate. To hurt. To own. Gang leaned back, casual as always. "Did you talk to him about it? Or maybe you should wait until he's into it." Then guide him slowly. "I mean, come on out of all your exes, Wu Suowei's body. Easily top tier, and that attitude of his." He laughed. "He's stubborn. Tough. He could take it." Chi didn't laugh. He said only 3 words. "I can't do it." Gang stared. "What do you mean you can't?" Chi turned to face him fully now. And what he said next stunned Gang more than anything ever had. "Because he'll definitely cry." Gang blinked. He thought he'd misheard. "He'll cry?" Chi nodded once. Gang scoffed, confused. "Are you serious? Since when do you care about tears? Everyone cries when you do that to them." "Are his tears that special?" Chi didn't answer. Because yes, they were. Wu Suowei's tears weren't weakness. They were everything Chi Cheng never knew he needed to protect. For the first time in his life, he was more afraid of hurting someone than of not getting what he wanted. Gang shook his head, still in disbelief. "This isn't you, Chi. You're changing." She looked down at his hands. The same hands that used to hit, now trembling with restraint. "I know." Gang leaned forward, more serious now. "You really love him that much?" Chi nodded. More than desire. More than pride. More than the darkness that used to define him. He loved Wu Suowei enough to hold back. Enough to put his own urges aside. Enough to let go of the control. For once. Gang looked at his friend, no longer the monster he once knew. And maybe, just maybe, that was a good thing. Because some people don't come into your life to be controlled. Some people come to change you, to make you human. And Wu Suowei had done exactly that. Sometimes, Chi Cheng wondered when exactly the shift happened. When did he stop seeing Wu Suowei as just another person to dominate? When did his frustration turn into fascination? And then something even deeper? It wasn't like a switch flipped overnight. It was gradual. A slow unraveling. Every time Wu looked at him with those challenging eyes. Every time he pushed back when Chi expected surrender. Every time he cried, not out of weakness, but from holding in too much for too long. That's when the old version of Chi started fading. And what replaced it was something terrifying. Love, but not the kind you control. Not the kind you chain down or punish into obedience. This love asked for patience, for gentleness, for stillness. Things Chi Cheng had never learned before. He used to think strength came from power. Now, he realized. Sometimes, strength comes from not using it. Wu Suowei made him feel weak in the most human way possible, because with Wu Chi wanted to protect, not break. He wanted to soothe, not scare. He wanted to stay. Even when it was hard. And the most dangerous part of all? He knew that if he ever crossed the line again, if he ever let the darker part of himself rise up, Wu Suowei would leave, not out of fear, but out of self-respect. And Chi couldn't bear that. Not anymore. So, when Gang's eyes stared at him like he was a stranger, when he asked, "What happened to the Chi I used to know?" Chi didn't have an answer. Because the truth was, he didn't recognize that version of himself either. That man, the one who hurt without remorse, who enjoyed control without conscience. He died the day Wu Suowei looked at him and cried in his arms without shame. That was the moment everything changed. And Chi Cheng wasn't sure if he was saving Wu Suowei anymore, or if Wu Suowei was saving him. Sometimes the strongest kind of love is the one that teaches us restraint. Chi Cheng, once feared for his cruelty, now trembles at the thought of making Wu Suowei cry, not because he's weak, but because he's finally learned what it means to care, to protect, to love in silence, to love without harm. Wu Suowei didn't just soften Chi Cheng, he changed him. And that, above everything, is what makes this story unforgettable. What would you choose? Your darkest instincts, or the one person who makes you want to be better? Thank you for watching this deep, emotional voiceover adaptation. If this story stirred something in you, like the video, comment your favorite moment. Subscribe for more intense BL voiceovers. Share with someone who understands love like this. Until next time. Let the stories keep healing us.